I mean, he and I will tell you this, nothing better than being on stage. It really is far superior to anything else. You know, go on vacation, or you can do a show.
Every step of Jay Leno's career and life bears the indelible mark of passion. But behind the scenes, a close source has just confirmed that the unthinkable has happened. Jay Leno, the legend of The Tonight Show, has just rocked Hollywood by revealing a truth about his life, stunning even his closest friends. After decades of making a nation laugh and building a renowned collection of classic cars, this is a story you need to follow, as what is about to be unveiled could forever change how you see the icon who was once a familiar face nightly in millions of homes. An unbeatable legacy built on laughter and hard work. Jay Leno was more than just a name. He was an American icon. He began his career in the comedy clubs of the 1970s, spending over a decade honing his relatable everyman style of humor. This authenticity helped him build a solid reputation from relentless hard work and a deep connection with the public, paving the way for his career's biggest turning point. In 1992, Jay Leno officially took the helm of The Tonight Show, succeeding the legendary Johnny Carson. This transition was dramatically marked by his renowned behind-the-scenes rivalry with David Letterman. Ultimately, Jay emerged victorious, maintaining the #1 late-night spot for nearly 2 decades, 1992 to 2014, with over 4,600 episodes, interviewing everyone from presidents to ordinary people with extraordinary stories. For Jay, hosting wasn't just a job, but a lifelong calling. He represented a classic era of comedy, warm, uncontroversial, and approachable. His public image was meticulously crafted, a beaming smile, an impressive collection of over 280 classic cars and motorcycles, and an extraordinary work ethic. He was famous for never taking a sick day or vacation, working almost every single day of the year between filming his show and performing stand-up gigs. He was the embodiment of resilience, a seemingly invincible work machine. However, a deeper look reveals a side that only his most dedicated fans ever saw. A longtime fan once recounted seeing Jay perform at a small comedy club in California in 1995, long after he had become the biggest late-night star. He didn't need the money or practice, yet there he was, on a small stage before 150 people, testing new jokes. That moment proved Jay Leno never forgot his roots, always a comedian first and a TV star second, his heart forever belonging to the live stage. This image of the hardworking, cheerful, and unbeatable man was deeply ingrained in the public consciousness, making the quiet changes that followed his retirement all the more significant. The unseen shift after saying goodbye. When Jay Leno said his final farewell to The Tonight Show on February 6, 2014, everyone assumed he would enter an active retirement filled with car shows and stand-up comedy. For the first few years, that appeared to be the case, but gradually, a subtle shift began to occur as his life quietly moved into a phase of painful reflection. His change in behavior was subtle at first. Starting around 2019, Jay began to withdraw from public events he once loved. He, a familiar face at major car auctions and prestigious events, started missing them. He declined more invitations to red carpet appearances. Initially, the public and the media assumed it was simply due to his age, believing the legend was finally slowing down to enjoy a quieter life. However, those in his inner circle noticed something more serious was happening. Close friends revealed that Jay had become more thoughtful and quiet. His conversations were no longer just about cars and comedy. He began to ask deep questions about legacy, time, and the meaning of a life devoted entirely to work. A dramatic moment came late one night in March 2021 when a close friend received a phone call from Jay at 2 in the morning. His voice was not the cheerful one everyone knew. It was low and tired. Jay said something his friend would never forget. "You can spend your whole life making people laugh, but in the end, you have to face the silence." The call ended soon after, leaving his friend with a sense of unease, feeling that this was a sign of a deep internal struggle Jay was hiding from the world. Then, two horrific accidents brought this hidden struggle into the light. On November 12, 2022, Jay suffered second- and third-degree burns to his face, hands, and chest in a gasoline fire in his garage. After undergoing multiple surgeries, he returned to the comedy stage just weeks later, his scars still fresh, but his smile intact. His incredible resilience was celebrated once again. But just 2 months later, on January 17, 2023, he was knocked off his vintage motorcycle, suffering a broken collarbone, 2 cracked ribs, and fractured kneecaps. 2 serious accidents in such a short period dealt a heavy blow to the man once considered indestructible. Although he smiled for the cameras, these events forced him to confront a truth he could no longer ignore. His body was sending a clear message, and this time he was ready to listen. The moment that stunned the world. The moment of truth did not happen on a grand stage or during a formal television interview. It took place at midnight in his Burbank garage, his personal sanctuary. Surrounded by his collection of perfectly polished classic cars, Jay decided to speak his truth alone. His wife, Mavis, had watched him pace the floor all night, unable to sleep. Around 3 a.m., she placed a hand on his shoulder and said softly, "Jay, if you've made your decision, then you have. To say it, just speak from your heart." That was all the encouragement he needed. He set up a single camera on a tripod, aimed it at himself, and pressed the record button. The man who appeared on screen was not the Jay Leno the public knew. He wore a simple denim shirt, and his face was etched with exhaustion and heavy emotion. He looked directly into the camera, his eyes carrying the weight of his entire life. "Hello, everyone," he began, his voice low and raspy. "I'm here in my garage, my happiest place on earth. I have lived a blessed life, a wonderful life. But it's time for me to be honest with myself and with all of you." There were no jokes, no smiles. The headlights of the classic cars reflected off the walls, silent witnesses to this pivotal moment. The video was streamed live on his personal YouTube channel without any prior announcement. As word spread on social media, the viewer count exploded into the hundreds of thousands. The live comment section was a flood of disbelief and concern. "What is happening?" one user wrote. "Jay, are you okay?" asked another. "This can't be real." For the first time in his public life, Jay Leno was not performing. He was revealing the raw, unvarnished truth about a private battle he had been fighting all alone. The painful truth about a body betrayed. "As you know," Jay continued, his voice steady but filled with a deep sadness, "I had a couple of accidents at the end of 2022 and the beginning of 2023. He paused, his gaze sweeping over the cars. "People said I made a quick recovery. I went back on stage. I tried to be strong. But the truth is, my health has been an uphill battle ever since." He went on to describe the long-term effects of the accidents. The fire had left him with permanent nerve damage in his hands and face, while the motorcycle crash had worsened his arthritis and created balance issues he had never experienced before. He spoke of months of grueling physical therapy and the chronic pain that never truly went away. His doctors had given him strict advice: stop all strenuous physical activity, including the hands-on work of restoring the cars he loved. During his speech, in a moment of heartbreaking honesty, Jay's hand unconsciously drifted to his cheek, gently touching a faint burn scar. It was a small, telling gesture that revealed the ongoing physical and emotional pain. His voice trembled slightly as he added, "The body that carried me through 40 years of success can now betray me at any moment. The hardest part of getting older isn't losing the fame. It's realizing that your own body is no longer your own." He concluded this part of his announcement with a powerful statement that resonated with everyone watching. "Humor kept me young, but pain reminds me that laughter cannot stop time." The audience was captivated, realizing that his health was just one piece of a much larger, more personal story. The deepest reason for saying goodbye. For these reasons, Jay announced, his voice now firm with conviction, and for other, more important reasons, I have made a decision. I have decided it is time to let go. He paused, letting the weight of his words fill the silence. I am retiring completely from television and the public eye. There will be no more car shows, no more comedy tours. It was a stunning declaration. He was not just slowing down, he was stopping completely. He explained that his relentless work schedule, something he had always been proud of, had come at a great personal cost. He had missed out on the small, precious moments of life, the quiet evenings with his wife, and the simple opportunity to just be instead of constantly doing. I spent 50 years chasing the laugh, chasing the applause, he admitted, but having 2 near-death experiences in a matter of months changes your perspective. He recounted a conversation with Mavis, his wife of over 4 decades. As he was recovering from his second accident, she held his hand and said, "Jay, you've given enough. You've made the world laugh. Now, it's time to live for yourself, for us." This was his turning point. He realized his greatest fear was not dying, but dying without having truly lived, without having built a life beyond his work. His decision was not an act of surrender, but an act of love for his wife, and for the life he had almost lost. He chose presence over performance, and his next move would redefine his entire legacy, a legacy of giving back. So, what happens to all of this? Jay asked, gesturing to the priceless car collection surrounding him. These cars were never just possessions. They are stories, and the best stories are the ones that are shared. He then announced that he would be donating the majority of his collection, worth over $100 million, to a new foundation he was establishing, the Leno Legacy Foundation for Young Mechanics. The funds, raised from auctioning the vehicles, would provide scholarships and tools to young people pursuing careers in engineering and mechanics. These cars gave me a purpose when I was young, he explained. Now, they deserve to inspire the next generation. His garage, once a private sanctuary, was now being opened to the world, transforming a personal passion into a public gift. This decision was met with surprise from his friends, many of whom called to persuade him to keep at least a few of his most iconic cars. He calmly replied to them, "I'm not giving them away. I'm passing them on. There's a difference." He was steadfast, understanding that the true value of his collection was not in owning it, but in the joy it could bring to others. But before he stepped away for good, he had one final story to tell. The Final Projects, a story from the heart. In his announcement, Jay revealed 2 final projects he had been secretly working on. The first was a documentary titled The Last Ride. He stressed that it was not about cars or comedy, but about life after the spotlight. The film follows him as he restores the very first vehicle he ever owned, a 1934 Ford pickup truck. This restoration project serves as a metaphor for his own life, as he reflects on his journey from humble beginnings to global fame. The documentary features deeply personal interviews with Mavis and includes never-before-seen footage of his painful recovery from the fire. In one moving scene, Jay returns to the spot in his garage where the fire occurred, touches the remaining scorch mark, and says, "You can't love something without risk that's true for cars, and it's true for life." His second project was a memoir, born from the private journals he kept while in the hospital. The book explores themes of love, loss, and finding meaning in life's final chapter. In a public letter, he wrote, "I thought my whole story was about laughter, but I was wrong. Laughter is only half the story. The other half is love." With these final projects, Jay ensured his story would be told in his own words, not as a celebrity, but as a human being. A new beginning in the quiet. The premiere of The Last Ride was held not in a glamorous Hollywood theater, but in a small old cinema, where Jay and Mavis used to go on dates when they were young, and he was still a struggling comedian. The evening was intimate and emotional. When the film ended, the theater was filled with a long, heartfelt standing ovation. Many in the audience, including his famous peers, were moved to tears. The public reaction was overwhelming. Tributes poured in from colleagues like Jimmy Fallon and even his old rival, David Letterman. His memoir became an instant bestseller, praised for its honesty and wisdom. After that, Jay Leno truly retired. He now lives a quiet life with Mavis, occasionally seen driving one of the few cars he kept along the California coast, enjoying the simple pleasure of the ocean breeze. He has found peace in the silence, a profound contentment far from the roar of the applause. His career did not end with a final joke, but with the quiet wisdom of knowing when to let go of the wheel. Jay Leno's legacy is now more than just laughter. It is a powerful lesson in resilience, generosity, and the courage to choose a meaningful life over a famous one. As he wrote in the final line of his book, "Every road has an end. But if you enjoyed the ride and you shared it with someone you love, that's enough." The man who made America laugh had taught his final, most important lesson: how to truly live.